Hey, business building warrior. This is Jim. Welcoming you to another episode. Today we've got Ross. He lives in the UK. He's our guest. He is a family man. He just had his second child, he and his wife, and it's just 4 days old as we record this episode. So he hasn't slept in about 4 or 5 days, but I've already recorded that episode, and I can tell you he was very lucid and he was very informative and excited to be on this show and share his story. It's not one of these massive success stories today. He went from selling books a few months ago, moved into our replens model on Amazon, and he's having some great success. And I can't wait to dive into his story with you and to share a little bit of time with Ross and some of the tips and strategies that he has. The thing I really took away from this show that you're about to hear today is just how simple and international this opportunity really is. And if you're willing to build a system and spend a few hours per week studying up on this and improving your processes as you go, you're going to build something pretty special. Anyone can do this. And Ross has a goal of making this his full-time income within a few months. He's hoping to break the $10,000 barrier, he said, in his business. He just had a $1,000 day. He hopes to have a $40,000 month soon. And his ROI is phenomenal at 100% on his business right now. So he's got some really cool things to share. He's going to talk us through how he got started, found those first few replens, and some of the exciting things that he's found that sell very well for him on Amazon. So here's Ross. We're going to jump over and spend some time with him today. Thanks for hanging out with us. And as one last reminder, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you should know that only about 20% of our episodes are on YouTube. 80% of them are listen only, and you have to go to your favorite podcast listening app. They're all free, and you can hear our other shows while you're out doing life. All right. So God bless you. Let's jump over and spend some time with Ross. So Ross, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for having me. How are you? All right?
I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to meet you finally and get this on the calendar.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So I'd love to get into your story a little bit and just kind of hand you the microphone, buddy, to start talking us through your story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes back a couple of years. So, I stumbled across Pack a couple of years ago now. So I think it was November 2018 where I sort of leapt in and bought it. For me, it was quite a big purchase at the time. So it was quite a big thing. But my mind was sort of in that right position at the time. I'm like, right, I'm going to do this. I had a lot of time on my hands, and it was just, I need something to do. I need something with my time to sort of get going with something. And actually, because I love football, so I used to sit there watching the football, and I would sit there and think, this is a waste of my time a little bit. Yeah.
You said football, right? Soccer, as we call it here in America, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a sports fan too, and left to just kind of do what I want to do. I can see myself just,
yeah.
But once you get, we call it doing the adult thing, right? You like, I got to do something here. I want to do something significant. So you kind of have that fire. Do you have a family? I don't even know, Ross. Well, you know what? I do know, because I read your bio quickly here a couple of days ago. You had a wife who had a baby recently, right?
Yeah, we literally had our second baby on Sunday, and it's Thursday today. So she's like 4 days old.
Wow. So, you've got a 4-day-old baby, and you're doing a podcast with us. That's great. We're honored.
I thought about rescheduling, but I thought, no, actually, I want to do this. So I'm going to.
Oh, that's great. So have you slept in the last 4 days is the question.
I was going to say, if I start mumbling, it's a bit of like tiredness, delirium type thing. Yeah, I hope your editor guy is probably going to earn his money on this episode.
No, hey, we just keep it real and authentic. My dog could barge in my office barking at any moment. Kids could come in here. My wife asking me to do an errand. That's how we roll on this show. No pressure, man. But how awesome. I would say, hey, can we see the baby? But don't want to throw off whatever little routine you might have established at this point. So
she's downstairs at the moment, but I'll see what I can do a bit later.
If they pop in, it would be the favorite moment of the podcast for many, I'm sure. Okay, so you're a family guy, you're getting motivated, you got a couple kids, you're getting a little more serious about this thing, right?
That's it. Yeah.
So
And
2 years ago, so take us back. Let's keep the timeline going. 2 years ago, you bought the Proven Amazon course. Now, where do you live?
I live in Kent in the UK.
Kent.
Yeah.
Okay. But help me with where that's at. I should know.
We're literally right at the very bottom. So if you're looking at sort of Europe, France, we're sort of the closest part to France as you can get within Europe, within the UK. So literally, it's about a half-hour ferry crossing, and you're in France. So,
Okay.
yeah, we're right
Close to France. Gotcha. Now I know. Geography was one of my weaker subjects in school, unfortunately. So okay, now I know where Kent is.
Yeah, we're called the Garden of England.
So it's the pretty part.
It's the best for the weather, definitely. The South.
I got you. You're in the South, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right. So start taking us through your Amazon story. I love this because anytime we get an international student on here, it becomes very popular because most of our audience is US based, but about 20% of our audience is spread out around the world. So anytime we get a non-US guest on the show, I get real excited because it just proves one more time you can live anywhere and do this business. But I want to hear your story. Let's go through it.
Yeah. So when I started, I bought the pack, and it was like an information overload. You see all of these courses. I'm right. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Amazon 101. Let's get into that. So you know the basics, right? Now let's sort of pick a topic to go into. But I made the mistake to start off with by watching 2 or 3 courses, one after the other. And then you've just got all of this information in your head, sort of like, I think you've sort of alluded to it in previous podcasts where you're bouncing around. You've not really focused in one particular area. And I made that mistake to start off with. But after a while, I was like, right, okay, let's focus. So I started on the sort of RA, OA, went down that route because my budget wasn't huge. I had about £500. So I decided to go into used books. A good place to start. I think in a lot of the courses, it says it's sort of a great place to start because your buy costs are pretty low. And the ROI on a lot of those is just incredible, isn't it? I mean, you can get sort of 3,000-4,000% ROI on used books. So it was just, that was where I started. And I've sort of been doing that for probably, just about a year and a half. Never really going too crazy with it. And it was just sort of like £1,000 sales every couple of months and things. And it was there wasn't nothing crazy.
It was just enough for you to know that it works. And just for the new listeners, if you go back in time 2 or 3 years, we were a lot more bullish on starting new sellers with books.
Yeah.
Now we're not so much. There's still money to be made there. There's still people who get very excited about that. But because of Amazon's long-term storage fees, you can very easily be upside down without realizing it. So you got to kind of know what you're doing with books.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to hear where you went next because I know I read your bio and I want to hear this next chapter. So you drifted from books after kind of toying around and realizing that this is legitimate. What'd you get into from there?
Well, it was when our first lockdown happened. So it was around sort of March, April time. We were shielding as well. So we literally couldn't leave the house for 13 weeks. So, I mean, I've got a corporate job full time. So I was doing that at home 100%, still doing this sort of the Amazon thing on the side. But actually, because I didn't have a commute or anything like that, there was some extra time available to just sort of ramp up the Amazon stuff a little bit. And I thought, right, okay, how can I pivot? I need to look at doing something else. I can see I'm in part of a lot of the Facebook groups, and I can see a lot of people doing really well. And I'm like, I need a bit of that pie. Yeah. So I thought, well, let's get back into the pack, see what's about. And obviously listening to the podcast, the replens model is just being sort of ramped up everywhere. A lot of people, it's such a popular thing at the moment. So I'm right, let's dip my toe in there. So I got Jimmy's ebook. So I read that a couple of times. Then in the pack, you've got the replens course as well. So I watched that. So I familiarized myself with the process quite heavily before I began. And I'm glad I did, because I think it was a lot smoother just starting then, because I felt confident in the process and I knew it worked. And yeah, the first sort of few days sourcing products, I didn't find much, but I wasn't disheartened because I know that process is proven and it works. So it's just a case of pursuing it, keep going. Once you find that one product to start off with, it gives you even more confidence, and you go, right, okay, let's get to work. It's just putting the time in.
Yeah, it's almost an addictive process.
Yeah.
It's almost the equivalent of looking for gold in a stream, I would imagine. Imagine spending 2 or 3 days and you find nothing. Then you find a nugget. You're like, okay, there is something here. And the difference between 0 and 1 is huge. So I love that you spent some time studying. And the Replens course, just to talk to some of the new listeners for a second, Ross, and to give you a break. The Proven Amazon course contains numerous modules. One of them is the Replens course that Ross is talking about right now. But we always encourage, especially new sellers, don't go in and try to watch all the content in the Proven Amazon course. You'll waste your time because there's just so much there. You need to take action. You need to get started. And we start most new sellers out with Replens, the model that Ross is talking about. And that module, we do encourage you to go all the way through it before you start. Not the whole Proven Amazon course, but Replens. Go all the way through and watch it all, because then it's clear in your head and you don't go out and make 15, 20 buying mistakes right out of the gate. You really do it right. And so you recognize a gold nugget when you see it that way. And it sounds like that's what you did. So keep taking us through your story, Ross. So you found that first winner. Do you mind sharing with us a little bit, not maybe the exact product, but how'd you find it? What's your story? Were you in a store? Well, you were online, obviously. You were locked down because of COVID. And this is 6 or 7 months ago, right? And you found that first product online, right?
Yeah.
So take us through that process.
So I literally been doing all OA, and I only ever use Keeper. That's the only bit of software that I use other than the Amazon Seller app, and then Amazon Online as well.
I love to hear that. I want to emphasize that for just a moment, Ross.
Yeah.
He uses the free Amazon Seller app, and he uses Keepa. That's the app that we recommend, and you get used to those. When you first look at Keepa, it's going to scare you and think, man, I don't have a PhD in economics. I can't read this. No, there's only 3 or 4 lines that you need. It gives you like 18 lines. You don't need all those lines. Once you know how to look at the 3 or 4 lines that you need, you can make great decisions about whether you should invest and test a product. And it's going to be a product that you can pull right off the shelf at a local retailer or easily source online for exactly the same price and have it delivered to your house or to wherever your warehouse is or whatever you're doing. But okay, so you learned Keepa. And I love emphasizing that point because, again, there's so many people in our community, and keep your place in your story, Ross. But there's so many people that come into our community and they've watched, let's say, 20 hours of YouTube videos on how to launch an Amazon business. And they think that step 1 is doing a whole bunch of research with a whole bunch of expensive tools, buying a really pricey course and educating themselves for 2 or 3 months on how to use all these tools and all these fancy private label strategies. That has about a 10% chance of working out if you're new. That's just the reality of the situation. I've been doing this 20 years. However, if you go down the path that Ross is talking about, you're going to spend a few dollars at most. You're going to test very, very small on potentially very big winning products. And within 2 or 3 tests, you're going to have a profitable business. And you've spent just a few dollars. Now, we have coaching, and that'll cost you a little money if you want to work one-on-one with someone who can take you through this and ramp you up faster. But the slow and steady approach that Ross is talking about has led to more success stories by far than any other Amazon strategy in the industry. Just wanted to emphasize that. I've seen it all. I've heard about it all. Replens is the easy starting point. Okay, back to you, buddy. Keep it going. I don't want to interrupt too much.
That's absolutely fine. And one thing that you sort of said there that I'd like to just sort of elaborate on a little bit is sort of testing, because Keeper it is really good for the data, and you can trust it to a degree, but it's not 100%, because I've noticed that testing a few of the products, it sort of says, okay, this product, it sells 30 times a month. But when you start testing it, It's you sort of test 5 or 6 to start with, and they just fly off the shelf. And then you get a little bit more, and you get a little bit more, and you start ramping it up, and you notice that it's a lot more than 30 times a month. That's quite conservative, but
Yes.
It's good that that's on the conservative side, because you're making those decisions to buy it based on the conservative part of it. If it was the other way around, you might find yourself in a bit of trouble. But
That's right. And let me make a point on your point. You borrowed my point. I'm going to borrow your point for a moment.
Yeah.
Keepa, as well as all of the tools out there that charge you $100 or $200 or $300 a month and not have all these features, they're all using the exact same data from Amazon. Amazon does not release to anyone the actual number of units sold of any given ASIN or any given product. They don't share that information. They keep it internal. They've never shared it with anyone. They probably never will. But what Keepa does, and what all these other tools do using the exact same data, is they look at how often the product rank changes. And it looks kind of like a heart monitor. So every time that rank drops, meaning it goes from, let's say, rank of 50,000 and it drops to rank 35,000, we know something happened. At least one product unit was sold. And that's what you see on the graph. You see this up and down, up and down, up and down. If that's happening rapidly, that means it's selling frequently. We call those drops on the graph. That means something sold. So when you look at Keepa and you see a bunch of drops on the graph, a bunch of spikes up and down, well, that means the product is actively selling at a good clip. And Keepa tells us, hey, we think that represents about 30 sales per month of that product. Well, typically Keepa is, like you said, Ross, it's underestimating that number. All the tools out there are totally guessing about the inventory levels. Everyone says, oh, my tool is more accurate than their tool. They're all guessing. They've built some algorithm. They're wildly inaccurate in some areas. They're dead on accurate in others, and it varies day to day. But you can tell, wow, there's a lot of activity on this. I'm going to test this real small. I'm not going to go out and buy 10,000 units of a private label product based on this information, but I'm going to test 2 or 3 units of an already established product and see if I can sell it profitably. And Keepa helps you make those decisions. I love it. So you're giving me some good chances. I'm kind of fired up today to make sure people understand how simple this business can be. So glad your stories. It's a simple tool set that you're using.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to keep things simple. Yeah, not overcomplicate things.
Beautiful. All right. So you tell me the story again, how you found that first product. Like, take me through. Are there any details there that you could share with us that might be good?
That first one, one of the methods that I was using was in the Amazon Seller app. There's a tool when you add a product called top 100 sellers, or top 100 best sellers type thing. And it's within there, just having a look through what are those best selling products, what's flying off the shelf at the moment, because that's always changing. So it's looking at that, trying to find little things where actually either nobody's selling it, so people have sold out. So sort of focusing on those, and then can I see if I can find that and get a profit from it based on the Keepa data. That's one of the methods I like to use, which it's pretty simple.
And let me fill in a gap there, Ross. Let me take a stab, because you just said 2 things that might seem to contradict each other if someone's not experienced in doing this Amazon thing. So let's clarify something. You just said you look at the top 100 hottest items, and you look through there and try to find something that's not selling real well. And I know what you meant. I'm pretty sure I do. But I bet the listeners out there are like, what? Why? How do you look at the top 100 best sellers and find something that's not selling real well? And what do you mean by that? I'm pretty sure I know, but talk us through that just a little bit more.
It's more like the sellers that have sold out. So at the moment, there's no inventory in stock in Amazon. So you can see by the reviews, it's got thousands of reviews. It's in the top 100. Amazon have put it in there, but at this moment in time, nobody's selling it. So there's sort of a gap in the market a little bit there. And that happens quite frequently. You'd be surprised how often
it does. It amazes me how many items that we sell in our inventory that are just flying off the shelf. And there's 4 or 5 of us selling, trying to keep the inventory up, and we just can't.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
It's just amazing how many opportunities like what you just described. And the other way I could have interpreted what you just said as an experienced Amazon seller is, You look through that top 100 list, you find something that's very popular, and you don't necessarily look at that specific exact product ASIN, that listing, but you use the brand name or the manufacturer name, and you go and you find a bundle for a 3-pack of that item. And now you've got a bundle of a 3-pack of this item that's flying off the shelf. It's not selling quite as rapidly as the one that you saw on the list, but it's selling well. And there's only 2 or 3 of you selling it. How many sellers there are really doesn't matter. It's how many a month can I sell? But you find these magic ASINs, these listings on Amazon, where you can just jump on it. And so that's a good place. There's really no bad place to start to do your research. You find yourself kind of drifting all over the place, opening multiple tabs once you know how to do this. At any given time, I'll have like 8 or 10 Amazon tabs open on my laptop when I'm researching, for product. There's all these little bunny trails. But I just wanted to clarify what we meant by that, because some people, when you say I'm selling popular products, I think, oh, you're going to go buy the latest PlayStation. No, that's not what we're talking about at all.
No. And do you know what? When I try and explain it to some family members and friends and things, that's exactly what they think. It's like, right, okay, well, you're just buying something cheap and then reselling it for a profit. It's like, yes, but it's not anything. There's a little bit more to it than that. You've got to know you're not buying something that's never going to sell or take a year to sell. There's a bit of a science to it, but once you know the methods and once you know the process, it is easy. It's easy to do, isn't it? It's not rocket science here.
No, it's really not. I feel confident and comfortable that most people can take the course and get it. Some other people might want some coaching or hand holding, and then the light's going to come on. But there's certainly a moment with replens where the light has come on. It's a light switch. It's either on or it's off. And if you can't sit down at your computer at any given time and find 5 replens brainlessly while watching soccer, or as you call it, I don't know why you guys call it football. It's soccer, man. That you can sit there and with some noise and distraction in the background, spend half hour, 45 minutes and find 4 or 5 new replens. If you're not there, the light isn't on yet. And you need to go through the replens course or get a coach or have some help with it. Because once that light's on, oh my goodness, there is stuff everywhere. And then even bonus, if you can actually walk through a store, you're going to just be blown away. And it starts to make sense why people spend an hour in one aisle or 2 or 3 hours in one aisle of a grocery store and walk out the store with 30 new replens that they're going to test, 70% of which are going to be profitable new recurring revenue streams. Yeah. Right. I don't want to steal your show, man. I don't know why I'm in such a mood to talk so much today. I'm Silent Jim. Keep going, Ross. Keep us in your story.
So it's just sort of building up a portfolio of replens. I think I've got about 75 on my list at the moment. Not all of those are active because, say, some decide to then not become profitable. So it's constantly a moving target, isn't it? These things change all of the time. And then there might be one that I sort of go back to that wasn't profitable, but then now is again. So it's just keeping on top of all of that, isn't it? And making sure that you're maximizing everything that you've found.
Yeah, it's building a system, trying to maximize your ROI. Yeah. That's right. Are you using Rev Seller by any chance yet?
I'm not, no.
I don't know if it's a UK. Is it available for the UK? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think so.
Okay. That might really help you out. That's the one tool. That's what I use. So I'm sitting here doing replens, because you can be on any page on Amazon and it tells you your ROI for that item right on the page, and other information as well. But it's very useful. Proven AmazonCourse.com/RevSeller. I'll stick that link in the show notes. It's a tool and that's the best price you'll find anywhere on that tool. I'll see if I can send you a free copy, Ross, for being a guest today. I think it'll really help you speed up your ability to find and make good, rapid decisions. On top of Keepa, you don't have to have RevSeller, but it speeds up your ability to make good decisions. And
no, thank you. That's very much appreciated.
ProvenAmazonCourse.com/RevSeller, RevSeller. That's the best price you'll find on that, and it's not expensive. But all right, so keep us going. You talked us through how you found that first item. How are you finding products now? And I'm curious how profitable your business is. You said you got 75 replens that you've now found. Talk us through some numbers and how you find your stuff.
So I mainly use Keepa. So just sort of playing around with Keepa a little bit. There's obviously you've got the search function. So you type a brand in there, and then all the lists that comes up, it's quite easy to see what listings Amazon aren't on, because I try and avoid competing with Amazon where I can, because you're never going to win that one. So it's just trying to find, because it's quite easy to identify them then, and then you can see if you can source that elsewhere cheaper. And I've got a spreadsheet set up that sort of calculates the ROI and things and the profit. But obviously, using Rev Seller would speed that process up slightly. So it's just using those tools really to try and find things. And also there's a bit of reverse engineering with that as well. So when you've found something on Keeper that looks good, flies off the shelf, and then when you're looking elsewhere on other retailers to see if you can find it, maybe you can, maybe you can't. But when you're looking through that, you might see something that's actually really low, or you think that's quite cheap. So then you look at that, and then you go and research that back on Keeper. So you're doing both sides of it. And it's just another little way of just sort of speeding up the process a little bit, and it takes you in all sorts of directions.
Yeah.
Like, well, I typed in one brand, and now I'm looking at something completely different.
You talk about bunny trailing. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
yeah. If you're doing this, it's not a linear process. If you're doing it right, it's not a hey, here's step 1, 2, 3, replan. Step 1, 2, 3, replan. You're kind of bouncing around. And I love how you just said, an example for me might be there's a packaged meat product that I found that was I thought was a really great ASIN. And in my research for it on Google to see, are there any retailers near me that sell this thing? There's another product that pops up, similar brand, cheap, much lower price. So I jump back over to Amazon and say, hey, is this a hot seller? And wow, it's even better.
Yeah.
I can buy it for $1 and it's selling for $9 a piece as a 3-pack. So like $27 and I can get it for $3 and it's selling as a 3-pack on this ASIN, and I can expect to sell 10 to 15 a month. Like, okay, I'm more excited all of a sudden, not the path I was on, but this path that kind of jumped in front of me while I was researching. And I think that's something that Jimmy emphasizes really well in the Replens course and in his book. That's part of it, is don't be afraid to change directions. When you're scrolling, look for something that's interesting. Your eyes will get trained. Like when you're on Amazon, you're looking for stuff that's overpriced and selling well. And when you jump off Amazon, you're now looking for stuff that's underpriced that you can easily source and sell on Amazon. You kind of jumping back and forth, right? And you end up with a bunch of tabs open at the top. So your ability to keep track of all these tabs that you're opening is kind of the game, right? How many tabs do you have open right now? Like typically, if you've done an hour or so of OA research?
I can see here I've got literally probably about 25.
Yeah, right. That any given time I've got a minimum of 15 tabs open. And I'll come back later, and because you don't want to shut down one of those bunny trails that you were on. Like, I'll come back to that later, but this is more exciting, and I go off on that one, and you come back later, like, oh, that's where I was. So each tab is a little story of a potential replan, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not rocket science, Ross, is it?
No, not at all. No.
So what's one of your more exciting products that you found? Talk us through that.
It's literally, it was a golden nugget. And I found this product, and it's really small. So it's in the beauty category. And it actually, I'm having to do it MF, merchant fulfilled, because I can't send it into Amazon. That's not a problem, but I just can't send it in. So I can't FBA it. But I thought, well, the ROI and the profit on it is just ridiculous. I can't pass this opportunity up. And the good thing is, it's a small product, so it doesn't take up an awful lot of room. It's one of the things that when I was doing the books, especially when you're getting books off Facebook, of people that they just give you books, there was just books everywhere. In my house just looked like a library, and my wife was just
right.
Sort of, what is going on here? Yeah.
And books have a certain distinct smell too, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Other people's books, And
if you've got some older ones from someone who's smoked for 10 years in their house,
right?
You bring all of that and the smoke of the books. That wasn't pleasant, but yeah. So it was quite a small product, so I can get away with merchant fulfilling this one. and the ROI on it is over 400%, which
Beautiful.
is great. And it sells, well, according to Keeper, it sells 30 times a month. But I mean, every time I ramp up and buy more, it sells within a day, and I've sold 15 in a day. So you say Keeper have been very conservative about, or whether it's just that now we're sort of in such a weird position with COVID and things, and just coming into Q4 as well. Whether those figures have just been skewed and things, and it's just flying out.
Yeah. Well, the disadvantage that all these tools keep included, I don't care if you're talking about Jungle Scout, Helium 10, there's a bunch of tools out there that'll estimate the sales volume for you on products. They all have the disadvantage of Amazon isn't telling anybody these numbers. They're looking at the change in rank. So let's say a product if we just think about it for a second, let's say at noon, a product is ranked 50,000. At 1 o'clock, it's ranked 30,000. What do we know? We know that at least one unit sold. But during that hour, it could have been 30 units that sold. No one knows. All we know is the rank dropped and at least one unit sold. So when we do our estimation, unless you're the person actually selling that product and you're the only one selling that product, no one knows how much of that product just sold. And you can't build an algorithm to calculate accurately how many just sold. All you know is the product rank changed. That's the only clue Amazon gives us.
Yeah.
So there's no way to know. That estimate that Keepa gives you of 30 units per month, it could be 3,000 units per month, but it's only checking it once every hour.
Yeah.
To see if the rank changed and saying, hey, one more sold. No, 180 sold. You just don't know. Right. But that's why you're excited to see the up and down bouncing, because it's changing rapidly in an exciting category. And and something big's happening. We love to see that green line bouncing up and down and heading down to the right. And no other sellers have found it yet. And that's a gold mine.
That's it. Well, the thing is, there are quite a few other sellers selling the and have just jumped on the listing as well. Whereas before they'd never been on it, which is the main reason why I'd gone down that route in the first place. But actually, they're sharing the buy box, which is quite nice of them and fair. So that's why every time I get stock in, they're sharing the buy box, and I seem to be getting that quite a bit. So I'm pricing competitively.
What do you mean by share the buy box? Talk us through that.
So they do. Amazon can do it with just normal sellers, us third-party sellers, or they can do it with themselves. But it's not Amazon are that first page listing all of the time. So they're allowing other sellers to be on that first page, which we call the buy box. So they're sharing that. So, I think I don't know what the actual stats are, but it's around sort of 70%. If you've got the buy box, you're generally going to get that sale. There's only another 30% of buyers that are going into the rest of the listings to see who else is selling it. Normally people are just like, buy that. And if you're on that first page, that's your product, then you're going to get that sale. So it does help increase sales quite a bit.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And just add some more clarification for those who are wondering, what's he talking about sharing the buy box? What does that mean? And the way I think about it is that if there's 5 of us or 10 of us or 100 of us selling the exact same product, the person with the lowest price is going to tend to drift into the preferred position. Obviously, Amazon's looking to give a good deal to their customer, but everyone within 5% of that price is also going to rotate through. And Amazon doesn't share their algorithm. Some people claim they know, but it's always changing. So the 5% within that best price, you're going to rotate through as well. But what sometimes happens, we call it the race to the bottom, is someone will say, well, you know what? I'm going to be the cheapest by a penny. And someone else is like, no, I'm going to beat that. I'm going to beat it by a dime. I'm going to beat it by a nickel. And pretty soon the price is tanking. Or someone thinks to themselves, oh, I overbought this product. I just want to clear it all out for what I paid. So they cut their price in half. Now everyone's wondering, should I race down and be with them, or should I wait till they sell out? So these are the games. This is business, right? This is free markets.
Yeah,
but
it's
you said people playing nice. I just want to, before I want to clarify, what you said, they're sharing the buy box. If all 5 of you just say, hey, you know what? We're all going to keep our price right at $15.25, 15 pounds. Let's keep it all right there. Let's all play nice. No one's going to start tanking this. You can see this rotate through, and you kind of share the buy box with each other as it rotates through.
Yeah, please everyone do that, because nobody likes going down the bottom.
And then when we're shopping on Amazon as a customer, what we like to see is, would please someone just cut their price in half and clear it all out? And then as a seller, you're like, oh, I'll buy all those. If you're going to do that, I'll just buy them and move my price back up. That's the game, right? That's the game.
Well, you say that I used to do that with the books. You used to see that there are merchant fulfilled books that go for like £2 or £3. I was like, they can't be making any profit on that, but it's the volume they're doing. And I know that I can sell that for 30. So I'll buy it and then list it back on there. So it's another strategy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we do it. I've been doing that, looking at doing that with some of our bundles where there's just one item that you just can't find off the shelf, but there's a seller over here with 60 of them, super cheap. I'm gonna go buy those. Thanks. I'll take all of them. Make my bundles. Right. So you get creative, you have fun with it. That's the game, though. It's a good time. So you haven't given us any numbers, like specifics. What are you comfortable sharing with us?
Well, I mean, say I jotted a few numbers down. I knew you'd ask, listening to all the podcasts. So I've sort of got, since I've started doing the replens, an average selling price of around £42, which is quite decent.
That's really good.
Profit around that is around 40%, which I'm quite happy with at the moment. So sort of when I started, sort of from books into replens, I was doing sort of £1,000 a month sales in the books, and then after the month of testing, even though it did go up to sort of 2,000 then. The first full month which was really September, and I was at 3,500 then, and now in October it's gone up to 8,500, and that's really that one product that I found that's 400% ROI and £40 profit each time it sells. So it's quite nice.
Fantastic.
So it's ramping up, so you can really see the potential with that.
Yeah. So where would you like to be, say, 3 months from now and 6 months from now? What do you have some goals in mind of what you think is realistic?
Well, my initial goal was £1,000 day, which I then shared with everyone on Facebook when that did happen, and that's where you saw it. And my other goal was 10,000 a month in sales. So I'm hoping November I can hit that quite comfortably, providing I can keep up with demand for this product. And really, I haven't thought about it too much since then, but I know that probably I do need to set new goals for the new year. I'd probably say I'd like to hit 40K, because I know that from the RINS model, Jimmy talks about once you've hit your 10K, then you move into sort of the next section. And then once you then hit 40, that then you think about things a little bit differently, outsourcing, that type kind of thing. So I'll probably, once I've hit 10, aim for 40, and see how quickly I can do that. In my head, I've got a strategy where on my 40th birthday, I'd like to quit my corporate job and do this full time. That's 3 years from now.
That's great. You look a lot younger than that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
They treat you guys good there in the south part of the UK, apparently, the garden of Europe. Well, so how many hours a week? You mentioned you work full time. We kind of blew past that point earlier on. How many hours per week are you putting into your Amazon business? I
sort of dip in and out, really. It's hard. I'd probably say between 10 and 15 a week.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit more now that I'm going to be up at all hours with the feeding the baby. Right. So I can, while she's sleeping on me, I can quickly do some sourcing on the Amazon Seller app. So
exactly.
Take every opportunity.
Yeah, it's always a hard question for internet entrepreneurs to answer when you say, how many hours a week do you work? It's like, I think a better question would be, how many hours a week do you just turn it all off? And for me, it's Sundays. And the rest of the time, if I'm standing in line if I'm sitting in line, let's say at a drive-through restaurant, picking up, some dinner for my kids or whatever. Yeah, I just admitted that we do that more than we should. I've got 3 minutes. I'm going to be, I'll swipe in and find a replan. I'll get on my phone. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good one. I took a picture of that 3 days ago. Research. Yeah, next time out, I'm going to grab that, take a picture of it, put it into the folder to test for the team to test.
Yeah.
So was I working then, or was I doing dinner for my family? Like, I don't know. It's all blended together, right? That's how it just kind of feels.
Yeah. And I would say, actually, I never switch off.
Right.
It's always, it's just constant. It's like, because I'm sat down, I'm like, right, okay, I can't just sit here and do nothing. I'm not wired that way.
Well, I would encourage you, Ross, and everyone listening, you've got to have that one day off. You will actually accomplish far more. It's a Judeo-Christian biblical principle, but it's been proven time and time and time again as well in multiple venues that downtime makes that other 6 days so much more productive. Yeah. You're just so fired up to jump in. It's like you're almost like you can't wait to get out of the gates on a Monday because you took that day off. It's a discipline to turn it all off for a day. So just to encourage you, if you're not, I'm not saying you're not, you didn't say you don't, but I have trouble turning it off too. And for me, it's Sundays. Just nope, not going to spend time growing my business, thinking about the numbers. I try to just keep that all off. For me, it's sacred.
You've been talking to my wife. Has she buttered you up and told you to say that? Yeah.
Oh, really? Sounds like you have a smart wife.
Yeah. She was saying, can you put that down? And just sort of like, yeah, because I'm always sort of like in the zone type thing. And sometimes that is.
Well, Ross, just dad to dad, you're in a season that's going to feel like a blur. And, you've heard this from people. Oh, they grow up so fast. My oldest just turned 24. Enjoy this season, man. Spend more time than you instinctually would with those little ones. And because this season will be over in a blink and you'll wonder where it went. But that's the ability that the goal that you have, I love it. We love seeing dads come home and live under the roof with mom there and the kids. And that is our heartbeat and passion around here. So make it happen. This is a business model. You can do that. And just incorporate those kids into it as they get old enough too. How old is your other child?
He's 6.
6. Yeah. Old enough to start helping in little ways.
Well, we've always got him helping with the nappy changing. So I'm hoping I can delegate that pretty soon, but yeah.
I love it. Yeah. What do you guys have a different name for a lot of the stuff with baby? What was it? You call a bottle a feed, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, it's a bottle. Why you guys just mess up all these words? No, we were adopting our oldest son, Chase, when he was an infant. It just reminds me when we were taking a taxi cab in London. And so we have a London taxi cab driver, and he is excited and kind and energetic and enthusiastic. And he wants to get to know these Americans who have just adopted a little baby. And he's talking to us, but we can't understand what this guy is saying. And one of the parts he was confusing me with this thick accent because we're feeding him. We got his bottle, right? And we're feeding him. And he kept calling it a feed. And I'm like, what are you talking about? A feed? The feed in his mouth. I'm like, the bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes there are quite a few of those sort of things, aren't there?
Yeah. It is. I always find it fascinating, and we think your accents are so cool. It doesn't matter, a UK accent or an Australian accent in America is just the coolest thing to listen to. But and it's great hanging out with you, Ross. What other things do you have to share with the listeners today? Any other encouragement or any other tips or strategies? I love your story. I can't wait to see where you guys are 3, 6 months, a couple years from now.
Yeah, I'm excited by that as well, actually, and saying just seeing how one product can just escalate things. When you've got 50 or 60 of those products all doing the same, or even hundreds, that's where you can really see you hit. I mean, there's no ceiling really, is there? It's just you can go as high as you want to.
That's right. Just keep building systems.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But I mean, one of the things that I sort of struggled with a little bit was when I was transitioning from books into the replens, it was more the mindset. Not that I couldn't do it, because I know that I put anything to my mind to it, I can do that. But it was the sort of the adjustment on the ROI kind of thing. So with books, you never looked at anything unless it was sort of 300 or 400% ROI. Whereas when you're looking at the replens, I'm like, well, that's 40% ROI. I'm not even going to consider that. But if that's £5 profit, but it's selling 60 times a month or more, that you've got to make those calculations. That's quite a good monthly payment. So it was just sort of trying to get your mind straight for the replens, because this is the model you're working with. And it'll be the same with any other model that you're using. Say we're doing wholesale, private label, you've got to get focused into that particular model and that process. Your sort of experience on other things will be helpful, but not to sort of confuse them, because they can be different.
And the rule of thumb we use is 40% ROI.
Yeah.
Yep. And you're excited about this 400%. It's great to turn a dollar bill into $4 or $5, but if you can turn a dollar bill into $1.50, hey, and you can do it on a rotating regular basis, yeah, that's a good product.
Yeah.
So we get excited about 40% ROI. That's our line that we draw. We try not to go below that, and if a product drops below that, we lose interest pretty fast, because you got to account for your time and the energy and the packaging. But you stay above 40%, you're going to build a profitable business, and you're going to find those 400% and 500% items along the way, ROI, that really fuel the machine. So good tip.
They're few and far between, but when they do happen, it's nice. But I mean, I did sort of have a look at my average ROI on all of my replens, and the average is 112%. So I'm pretty happy with that. And average profit is £15 per product that sells.
That's great.
So again, it's just ramping that up and just a bit deeper once you've tested.
You've built a machine that you put $1 into, and it gives you $2 back. And you take your expenses out of that, and you the rest is your profit. It's beautiful. Yeah, you're well on your way. Yeah, keep plowing forward. It's beautiful. So, any other tips or strategies or thoughts before we start to wrap this one up?
Not really. It's just thank you for having me. Really, it's an honor to be here. So I always, when I'm in my routine, I get up at about 6:30 and just get my running gear on straight away and go for a run. Got the earpods in, listening to your podcasts. It just helps clear the mind and actually keeps the motivation high. And any sort of tips and strategies that people didn't talk about, then it's always nice to grab onto those as well. And then it just sets you up for the day, really, doesn't it? So that's sort of my routine. So you're part of that. So thank you.
Wow, that's incredible. Because I run, but I don't listen to this podcast. Unless it's a guest. We have some great guest leaders and interviews. I'm like, oh, I got to hear that one. Jimmy got one in there, or Ryan will get one in there, or Jenny, and I'm like, oh, I got to hear that one. I haven't heard it yet. But rarely do I listen to this podcast. Hey, and just as a reminder for those who are watching this on YouTube right now, I'm glad he mentioned earbuds. If you're watching this episode, you should realize that about 80% of our episodes aren't on YouTube. You need to go to silentjim.com and you can listen to all the episodes. Many hundreds of great guests like Ross telling their stories and sharing how they've built businesses online and on Amazon. So make sure you subscribe to that on iTunes or wherever you listen to free podcasts. All right, Ross, man, it's been great hanging out with you, buddy. And it looks like we're not going to get to see the baby this time. That's all right. But I want you back about 6 months from now. And we'll see that little baby and see your family maybe, and to get an update on how your business is going, man. You did a really great job for us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. And one day I'd love to come to one of the conferences. So that's a goal as well. So one day, hopefully I can shake your hand in person.
We'd love to have you over here. Have you been to the States?
I have. I've been to Las Vegas, but that was in 2010, so quite a while ago.
That's not necessarily representative of what this country is necessarily all about.
No, I am aware of that.
It'd be great to have you back over again and meet you, shake your hand, see the family. That'd be beautiful. And these events that we do, once the world gets back to normal, which it will happen, please God, let it happen soon. We'll have these events and it's like a big family reunion. It's just a beautiful time, and we'd love to have you guys come over and it's an international family reunion. It's just a beautiful time. Well, hey, God bless you, Ross. I'm going to talk to the listeners for just a second. Thanks for hanging out with Ross and I today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with somebody. Pass it around. We love producing this great, free, encouraging content. And this wasn't one of those pie in the sky, multi-million dollar big, we've got those people in our community that built those big machines. This is just a guy who just a few months ago transitioned from selling books on Amazon to doing the replens module, and it's working, and he's excited, and he's in the UK, which some people say, oh, is this international? Yeah, you can do this stuff from anywhere. So we just wanted to encourage you today. Thanks for hanging out with Ross and I. Thanks for listening and watching. Please leave us a review wherever you're at. Subscribe wherever you're watching. We appreciate those numbers. And jump into our free Facebook group if you're not in there yet. Ross is in there. The post that made us produce this episode was when he was celebrating. Was it, Ross, your first $10,000 month or $1,000 day? It was, right?
It was $1,000 day, yeah.
You had £1,000 day. Thanks for bearing with me as I'm using all these American phrases.
Yeah.
He had his first £1,000 day, and he posted in our group, and our group celebrates every time. It's just a good place to come to get encouragement, see other people's success stories, and grow a business with us. All right. So God bless all the business building warriors out there listening. Thanks for hanging out with Ross and I today. We'll have another great episode for you again real soon.